Hello friends, welcome to my channel. Today is the day 22 for our PCNSA series. So before we gonna start, I just wanted to tell you something. I've already covered about destination NAT, which is a static destination NAT, and already covered the dynamic destination NAT in my previous video, which is day 21 and day 20. I will highly recommend you to watch this video and then you see this particular video, because I am using the same lab and I'm continuing the same lab, same configuration, so it will be easier to understand. Okay, so in this particular video I am going to tell you what is port based destination NAT, which is also or often called as port forwarding. Now, what is the use case of port forwarding, how exactly it works, and we are going to make you understand with the help of a practical lab. So I'll recommend you to please watch this video till the end, and also I'll request you to please subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon so that you never miss any video from me. So without any further delay, let's get started. So friends, let's understand what is port based destination NAT, okay, and also what are the use cases where we can use port based destination NAT, which is nothing but port forwarding. With the help of this diagram, we'll try to understand more. Okay, now in destination NAT, as we have understood that in layer 3 we have of the OSI model, we have source IP address and we have destination IP address, right? So when we are changing the destination IP address, it is becoming DNAT, which is nothing but destination NAT. Okay, so this is the user who is trying to access this particular web server for an example. So the source is basically their public IP address. Destination also becomes a public IP address. When it reaches to Palo Alto firewall, it is changing to a private IP address. So the destination is changing from public IP address to a private IP address, right? Whereas in source NAT, when we are changing our private IP address to public IP address, right? It is happening opposite for destination NAT. Okay. Now here we are using the port based. So we are going to change from public IP address to private IP address, as well as at layer 4 we have source address, we have source port number, destination port number. We are going to change the destination port number as well. So I am going to change the IP address and the port as well, and that will basically changes to a server, meaning that in the dynamic destination, what was happening, the server was basically changing in a round robin fashion. So traffic was going here and there, right? Now in this particular case, what is happening is it will be changed through the port number. Okay, now we'll try to understand how this port based destination NAT exactly works. Okay, friends, let's understand clearly what exactly the use cases of port based destination NAT, which is port forwarding, and how exactly it works. Okay, so let's understand this is two web servers. Okay, now this web servers listens on port number 80 and this web server listens on port number 443. Okay, now the use case of this web server is different and the use case of this web server is different. Okay, now if the user is trying to access this web server, okay, he needs to be NATed to port number 80, and if the user is trying to access this web server like the 20.100, he needs to access on port number 443. Now there are multiple scenarios, but I'm telling you a very straight away, like how Now in this particular way, this user will have, or this organization will have, only one public IP address. And with this single public IP address, he needs to, or the user on external network needs to access both the server with the help of only one single public IP address. My source will be a public IP address which my ISP has provided me, okay, and my destination will be 17.29.129.150, okay, and my destination port would be, let's say for an example, 8001. This is a unstandard port number which we don't use it, right? Now this traffic reaches to Palo Alto firewall, okay. My source IP address will be a public IP address, okay. My destination IP address will be 172.29.129.150, okay, and destination port number will be 8001. Now whatever the NAT rule that we have configured, so let's say I will tell the Palo Alto, if somebody is trying to connect on port number 8001, tell him to go to 101. So I have to convert this port number to 80, and I have to convert this IP address to 192.168.20.101, right? And let's say if I have another request which is coming on 8002, right? So in this case, the destination port 802 will be going to 443, right? And this changes to 192.168.20.100. So with single public IP address, with changing the port number, I can access both the servers only by exchanging the port numbers, as you can see. So if the ports are getting on 8001, it is going to 101. If it is hitting to 802 port number, it is going to 100. So I can map the web servers or the servers in a different port numbers, and with the port address translation with single IP address, I can access multiple servers inside our organization. Now this can be opposite as well. So user will be accessing on port number 80 or port number 443, and I'll be listening on 8001 or 8002. That can also be possible. And also the same scenario can be repeated like this. I can map port number 80 to port number 80, port number 443 to port number 443 as well. Same port to same port, I can do the mapping as well, right? But the web server or the server has to listen on different port number, then only I will able to access. Otherwise, if they are, let's say if this server is listening on port number 80 and this server is also listening on port number 80, I cannot do it, because the statement will get conflict, and whatever the statement which is in the first list, it will be chosen first, because the statement says same port number, it is translating to the same IP address. So whatever the statement will be at the first, it will be translated. So if they are having on the same port number, it will not work, okay? You have to have a different port numbers for different servers, okay? If they are running on port number 80 and 80, then you can use dynamic destination NAT, and you can do load balancing kind of thing, okay? So let's get to the lab and we'll try to see how we can configure this, okay? So friends, let's hit the lab and we'll try to configure this port forwarding in the lab. And I just wanted to update you the same lab that you're using. We are using the same configuration. So I will recommend you to watch my previous video if you have not watched. If you have already watched, that is fine, okay? Because I'm using the same configuration, same lab. If you are seeing for the first time, you'll not be able to understand properly, okay, why this configuration is like this, why we are putting outside in the NAT statement, and you will get confused. And if you are aware about those things, you are good with that. So we are going to use the same lab what we have used for dynamic destination destination NAT and static destination NAT, okay. Now here the requirement is, if somebody is trying to access on port number 8001, it has to be translated to port number 80 for this. And if somebody is trying to access on port number 8802, which is 8002, it will be translated to 80, right? So what I am going to do is, I'll be changing, it has to be 8001 needs to be translated to 80, and if I am going to 8002, it has to be translated to 80. Fine. So this is what we are going to do. So the user will be accessing on port number 8001 to 80, 8002 to 80 with the different IP addresses. So this is what our requirement is. We'll try to access this one. Okay. So friends, this is our dashboard of our Palo Alto firewall. So we are not going to do any changes on any of the devices because the IPs are already configured. Okay. The only change that we are going to do in the Palo Alto, which is only related to NAT, because the security policies are already configured the way it has to be, okay? So it is already configured, there is no problem. The only thing that we are going to change is the NAT statement, okay? So this is the PAT statement. We are not going to touch this because this is for inside to outside and this is for outside to inside, okay? So let's open this. Now from outside, if somebody is trying on 8001 on port number 80, right, it has to be translated to 20.100. So I'm going to change the service here. So let's put TCP 8001, okay. Destination port number will be, this is whatever the name that you want to configure, you can configure here. I just put it like this so that I can remember it, okay. And TCP UDP source, and this one I'll be explaining you later, not now, okay. So if original source, if somebody is trying to access on 8001, it has to be translated to statically to an IP address which is 192.168.20.100, right. So 192.168.20.100 on port number 80, right? So we are listening. So this is the one. Okay. I'll be creating a clone of this and I'll be changing the port information. So I'll be creating a different port number which is TCP. So TCP 8002, okay, and this is 8002, okay. This is 8002 translated, and I am going to change to 1 on port number 80, right. So if somebody is trying on 50.801 20.100, 802, 50, 20.100 on port number 80. Now let's commit this changes, and I am going to access from this particular PC and we'll see whether it's working or not. Okay, so let's open this. So it will be done in some time. Okay, it's 55% completed. Okay, so I'll just delete the Palo Alto. So let's take an IP address from this 172 okay 80.8.0.0.1. okay, so this is the IP address that we are going to access. So friends, as you can see, it's not accessible, doesn't looks like accessible. Let's log into Palo Alto from CLI. Let's check whether the NAT is happening or not. 202.143 admin and the password. Okay, so it is not happening, it is not responding. So session all. Let's try it again. Change this to okay, and let's try again. Okay, and we'll see undecided. So 150 is getting translated. Okay, so let me show you why it is not accessible, because if I go to this particular policy, we have something called as application default. So let's put it as any. Okay, and you guys need to tell me why I have put it as any. If you are not knowing that particular answer, you can comment down, or if you know, please comment it down that why it was not working, and I'll give you the answer once we start application control. I have given you a hint, it is in the application control or application ID topic. Okay, so let's the commit gets processed successfully. Friends, let's try to access it now. So I am getting the screen. Let's log in here, and I've logged into server 1, which is 100. Okay, and let's log into 2, which is 802 Cisco, and the password. Now we can see that I have logged into server 2. So I can access with single IP address the server 1 and the server 2 as well, right? So both the pages are accessible with single IP address with different port numbers that you can see, right? So with the help of this particular changes, and I just wanted to let you know about that server 1, the service which I have made it from application default to any. I'll tell you in the application ID why I've changed it. Okay, so this is how we configure a port forwarding, and with the port forwarding with single IP address we can access multiple internal servers. Okay, either we can use a unstandard port number at the client side or at the server side. So server will be listening on 8001 or 8002, or the user will be accessing on port number 80 or 443, something like this. Okay, or else I can translate it port number 80 and 40 port number 443. So I can translate to same port number, but in this particular requirement you should have a different port numbers. But in this particular example which I have showed you, I am listening on same port number, but the user was accessing on different port number. So one side different port number has to be required. Okay, so friends, this is what I wanted to cover in this video. If you have understood something new today, I will request you to comment down below, and thank you so much for watching till the end. Also, I'll request you that if you have any suggestion related to my video, you can comment it down, or you can send me any message on Instagram, Facebook. You can find my social media handles and the about section. If you are unable to find it out, you can ask me, or you can check out my comment, the first comment which I do for every video in the pinned comment. You can check that out as well. And also, I'll request you to please subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon so that you never miss any video from me. So thank you guys. I'll see you in the next.